I'm Dan Halstead. I run the Grindhouse Film Festival in Portland, Oregon. I started it in 2004, so I've been doing it for 5 years now. I've always really been into kung fu movies and horror movies, especially drawn to stuff from the 70s and 80s. And, you know, a lot of people like to focus on the violence in those movies, which I like violence in movies, but that's not the main draw for me. I like the grittiness of those movies that it doesn't exist in movies anymore.
Revenge strikes with its most frightening power. They called her One Eye.
A lot of people who don't come to the screenings and maybe read about it in the paper, or that it's obvious that they think that that's what it's all about. That's just an audience getting together to see a bunch of blood and guts, which, you know, some people it might be, and the violence is a huge draw, but that's not all there is to it. There are great movies that were made during that time period. I don't think it's fair to just pick a few movies and say these are the important movies in movie history and just completely forget about all this other stuff that was really influential. And some of those movies are just as important and sometimes better than the movies that are considered great films. And so I think I'm interested in doing this because it's given like a new generation those movies. You know, a younger generation that has never heard of all these exploitation films and comes to see them, and it obviously has a big impact on them. To me, the Grindhouse Film Festival is as much about a study of cinema as it is about having a good time watching a movie. I feel like Portland has so many film festivals. We have tons of movie theaters, it's great, but I didn't feel like there was anything that really catered to what I like. So I thought, I'm just gonna put on a film festival. I was just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna put on a film festival, show a bunch of movies I like, and see if anybody comes. And then it turned out to be a big success. I was totally blown away.
This is Stunt Rock.
There's something about watching movies with an audience in a theater, and it's something that almost doesn't exist anymore. There's those moments where everyone reacts at the same time, and especially with exploitation film, just the audience responding together is really exciting. Everybody enjoys showing a movie that they love to a friend, and it's exciting. It's like experiencing it for the first time again with your friends. So doing that with a theater full of an audience is really exciting. You know, doing that with 200 people is exciting. It's fun. It really is about loving the movies and wanting to show them to other people. And one of the trailers I bought came with a movie ticket in it, and it said Shaw Theater on it. And it may have even said Vancouver, BC. And so Googled the theater and did some research, and I tracked down the person who used to be in charge of that theater in all the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu theaters in Canada during that time, which there were probably only a few. And so film is so expensive to ship because it's so heavy that I assumed the movies were shipped over from Hong Kong. Since Vancouver's on the coast, the films were probably shipped in there. They probably played the circuit of the Kung Fu theaters and probably ended up back in Vancouver. And I just assumed they probably never sent them out of there. So got in touch with the owners, with Shaw Brothers in Hong Kong, and they said, go ahead, go take a look and see what's there. Crawl under the stage of the theater. It's about 4 feet high, and it's filled with film. There's ended up being 200 prints, which is over 1,000 reels of film, over 8,000 pounds of film that was stuffed under this stage. At first, it looked to be just completely overwhelming. Like, I was more concerned than excited when I first saw it, because you know, and it was in total disarray. Movies are usually 5 or 6 reels long per film, but none of the reels were stored together. So it was complete. You know, we had to go through the entire thing and then figure out later how many complete prints were actually there. So we were in there for a couple hours before I figured out that we were actually going to have complete films. And I talked to Shaw Brothers, the rights holders and the owners of these films, and just set up the deal for all the films to be donated to the American Genre Film Archive. Once the films had been donated, and went back under that stage and drug out all the prints reel by reel and went through all of them and organized everything. We laid them out, just went alphabetical order, just reel by reel, and just stacked up all the prints, boxed them all up, put them on pallets, and loaded them up on a truck, and got them out of there. So, but it was a huge pain in the ass That's a lot of film. It's heavy as fuck. But we got it all out of there. It's a huge deal. Now the prints can be saved, they can be shown to audiences, they could be loaned out to film festivals in the Western Hemisphere, because these prints just don't exist. The movies are saved. It's amazing. It's incredible. If somebody else told me that story, I wouldn't even believe it. I think the Grindhouse screenings keep that spirit alive of those movies, and I think it's done a lot to generate interest in those movies. What I really hope for is that there's some people who come who want to make movies and are really influenced by the movies. I think that would really make me happy to hear that someday somebody makes a great movie that was influenced by these movies and they could tell about how they used to come to the Grindhouse Film Festival. I think that would be great. Know that I had that impact on modern cinema so it doesn't suck so much.